Hello friends, it's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums with another tarot spread video to kind of help you with your own tarot practice. So today is going to be the Clarity Tarot spread. I think that this is good. It's a large spread. I've been kind of trying to do larger spreads with the last few videos. This is going to be an 8-card spread. I think this is good, especially as we're kind of moving through winter, as we kind of prepare for the upcoming year. I think it's nice to have certain spreads to kind of give you a little bit more direction, a little bit more clarity. So I'm going to be kind of focusing on a few spreads that are a little bit more focused on gaining some clarity, kind of getting a little bit more of that guidance that seems a little bit more specific towards our path and what we should be doing. And I think a lot of us are kind of like, WTF is going on? All right, so let's get into it. I'm going to be using the Learning Tarot cards by Witchy Cauldron. I think that these are great to use for these educational kind of videos. It's nice. You guys can kind of follow along with my interpretations, and it's nice, especially when you're asking different types of questions, to kind of have some different keywords to pull from. Especially when some of the cards feel like they may not be as easy to understand for the position or question that you pulled them for. So let's get into it. Let me just shuffle these guys really good, and then we'll get into the spread. All right. So this is going to be a pretty large spread. That back because we're not doing jumpers today. All right, so let's get into it. So the first card is going to be our biggest fear or distraction. Now, anytime I'm trying to do these little like sample readings or whatever, I don't really have like a specific question in mind. So sometimes the cards are a little wonky because I'm just trying to give you guys an example of what this will look like in a reading and how I would read the cards. All right, so card number 1, biggest fear or distraction, we have the 10 of Swords. All right, so that's card number 1. Number 2 is going to be where to focus instead, like where to focus our energy instead, like what to focus on instead. And here we have the 5 of Cups. Number 3 is going to be the past experiences to let go. I'm going to get confused. Oh, sorry. This is going to be the 3 of Wands reversed. Card number 4 is going to be useful past experience. So this is like, we can focus on what was a useful past experience. We have the 2 of Wands. This is going to be confusing. Watch. I'm going to like end up switching these around at some point. All right. Card number 5 is going to be what to cultivate. So here we have the 10 of Pentacles. Card number 6 is going to be what is the next step or the next step? Death. Card number 7 is going to be our inner strength. Pull 2 there. So we have Judgment reversed. I knew it was going to be too big to probably fit on screen, but we'll try. All right. And then card number 2, outside help or an advisor. And here we have the Ace of Pentacles, and this one usually goes up here. Okay, so let's get into how I would personally read this spread for myself. Again, this is all about getting clarity. It's the clarity spread. So card number 1 is going to be the 10 of Swords. So this is going to be our biggest fear or distraction. So this is a card about endings, defeat, backstabbing, betrayal, enemy, bitching, bad-mouthing, failure, ruin, collapse, breakdowns, exhaustion, inability to cope, curses, rock bottom, hitting a wall, dead end, severing ties, goodbyes, and nail in the coffin. So with this talking about the biggest fear or distraction, I can totally see how this would be applicable to my own personal experiences. For many years, I have said that failure is one of those things that I have the most anxiety about, is to not be able to succeed at the things that I value or at the things that are significant or important to me. So I think that this is very apt. I am someone that kind of feels like I've been through the ringer. I've been through a lot of different experiences. Not saying that my life has been any more challenging than somebody else. It's just my personal experience feels as though it has been very challenging, even if I do try to maintain a positive attitude. So I think that this is one of these cards that continues to come up. If you've seen any of my other tarot spread videos, you'll see that it tends to kind of come up quite a bit in my readings. And so I guess this is where we're at. It's just something that maybe I need to take some time out to kind of heal, to work through, as I do tend to be a little bit more cautious with how I open myself up to people, how I let people in. It's one of these things that I do tend to struggle with a little bit. And I think that this is just kind of calling that out a little bit more and giving me more of this like, hey, you got to kind of focus on this. Like, my biggest fear, my biggest distraction is going to be this like feeling of defeat, of things ending, of things not really working out the way that I thought that they were going to. All right, so card number 2 is going to be the 5 of Cups. So this is where to focus instead. We have the 5 of Cups, which is a card about loss, right? It's a card of sadness, loss, grief, despair, abandonment, guilt, remorse, regret, trauma, heartbreak, unwelcome changes, focusing on negative emotions, isolation, and loneliness. So it's very interesting to get one of these cards. And this is why I like doing these little sample readings with you guys, because not every card is going to give you this like sparkly and rainbows and happy sort of message. And so this is kind of talking about, hey, I need to focus on maybe processing the emotional losses I've had. Maybe it's talking about I'm too focused on the sadness, the grief, you know, the things that haven't been working on moving me closer to my personal goals. So this may talk about like, I can't move on until I process this. So that's kind of how I would choose to look at the message of this card, is that I'm not allowing myself to be supported. I'm too isolated. I'm too much in my negative emotions, and I'm not letting myself be supported through the shifts and the changes. So I think that this is kind of saying like, hey, you're so focused on the things that haven't worked out or how things haven't really come the way that you wanted, and become, you know, easier or a little bit more open to you, but it may be because you're holding on to this sort of energy. So I need to focus on processing and healing and dealing with this sort of energy. All right, so card number 3 is going to be this one over here. This is going to be the past experience to let go. We have the 3 of Wands reverse. So this is unrealistic plans, arrogance, a promising venture that fails to deliver, moving home, lack of foresight and planning. Not to tattle on myself a little too much, this is something I will say that I do need to work on within myself. I'm someone that, you know, has always tried to be very positive, very like optimistic. I try to pretend I don't stress about things very much, but I do stress about everything, if that makes sense. So I think that this is kind of talking about like, hey, you know, maybe some things that I thought were going to come together and work out just aren't going to look the way that you thought they were going to. And that is something I'm currently, not to say battling with, but I am considering what it would look like to maybe remove myself from having like the option of people purchasing readings from me and stuff like that. Not because it's not something that I absolutely love and enjoy, but it's been something that has not had as much forward momentum as it once did. And so I'm kind of feeling a little bit like maybe that's not where I want to focus a lot of my energy into. I really love teaching and sharing more than I think doing like readings, even though I really, really love doing readings. I haven't been in a position where like it's something that I can really super focus on. And so it's been a little bit hard because I like want to do these things, but at the same time, like, do I want to continuously carve out so much time so that I can do these things, if that makes sense? So I think that this is talking about like, hey, like, I need to not just wing stuff, I think is what it's saying. Cause I do tend to do that. I do tend to just kind of go off of vibes, and just be like, oh, well, now I'm going to do this thing, or now I'm going to do that thing. And I haven't really followed through on certain things. And so I think it's kind of telling me like, hey, like that's just not going to work for you moving forward. Like you got to kind of get, the things right. So card number 4 is going to be a useful past experience. So here we have a card that really talks about choices. It talks about 2 paths, decisions, options, planning. The grass is always greener on the other side. Immigration, suddenly leaving, deciding to stay or go, waiting, anticipation, restlessness, attachment, withdrawal, and wanderlust. And I think it's interesting that here we have the 2 of Wands, and here the previous card is the 3 of Wands reverse. So as someone who has really, I don't want to say had like a super nomadic life, I think in a lot of ways I've been kind of one to not remain in places and in situations that I felt like weren't for me. Like as soon as I kind of felt like, okay, nothing's really moving the way that I want, I need to just kind of plan for something else. I have been more readily available to the opportunity to kind of get away from things, if that makes sense. So, I've lived in a lot of different places, a lot of different cities, a lot of different states. I have loved to travel and go to different things, and I've kind of been a person that's like, my home is like with me and my family, not so much like a specific place or a specific like land mass, if that makes sense. It's more of just like, I really love being in the mountains, which is the reason why we moved to Colorado. It's like me and my family really loved the mountains, and so we were like, let's move closer to them. And I've really loved the life that I've kind of begun to establish here. So I think that this is kind of talking about like that wanderlust, that sense of like making choices and planning for things, and you know, really kind of like having the power to just be like, all right, I'm done with that. I'm ready to move on. That may be something that is very useful in my personal experiences, so that I'm not so stuck on the losses and so stuck on the things and have so much fear about things ending, because you know, that's one of the things about life is it's guaranteed to change whether we like it or not. And as a Taurus, it's not always my favorite, but it's also something that I recognize and realize is necessary for life to continue. All right, so moving on to card number 5, this is going to be what to cultivate. And so here we have the 10 of Pentacles, which is the culmination of our hard work, our behaviors, our actions, what we've been doing. So this is unexpected financial windfall, lump sums, will, deeds, trust funds, inheritance, solid foundations, privilege, inherited issues, ancestry, family home, business responsibilities, value support issues, riches, old money, and affluence. And so with this talking about like what I need to cultivate, is that is something that I've really been wanting to create for my children. I am first generation. I am, you know, the first child born here from immigrant parents. So it is one of these things where I have tried to establish their lives to be much easier and kinder than the life that I had. And I'm hoping that in time, they have a lot more access and opportunities to be as successful as they would like to be, and that have the opportunity to have a little bit more stability than I did as a child of immigrants. So I think like that is really what I am trying to cultivate, is this like sense of all of my hard work coming to a head to be able to support everybody that I love and the people that maybe at one point in time may have to rely on me again. It is something that is heavy on my noggin, I guess we'll say. All right, so card number 6 is the next step. So this is going to be the Death card, which again, if you see any of my little sample readings, you see I get this card all the time. It is one of my favorite cards. I really love the energy of death. Not in the sense of like, oh, I want things to die and, you know, being creepy. It's more of the spiritual lessons that come from it, is that I'm willing to really let go of the past versions of myself that no longer fit. I understand that it's a card of metamorphosis and transformation and rebirth, because I'm the one that is actively choosing that for myself. So this is a card of spiritual transformation, new beginnings, letting go, endings, change, transitions, sudden or unexpected upheaval, releasing, cleansing, purging, revitalization, stripping away the worthless matter, and liberation through purgation. So with this being the next step, this is kind of saying like, I gotta let shit go. I gotta stop hanging on to stuff, right? I gotta stop hanging on to the mental clutter, the emotional clutter that is not allowing me to be more active in what it is that I'm trying to get after, or to really pursue the things that I value in different ways. So I think it's apt. And if you've seen any of these other little readings that I do, you'll see like it is a card that shows up quite often for me. I understand the energy. It's not something that, again, I don't have a fear of it. All right, so card number 7 is going to be my inner strength. So here we have Judgment reversed. So this talks about, you know, indecisiveness, self-doubt, malicious gossip, lack of self-awareness, unwillingness to learn karmic lessons. Now, it's interesting that this is in this position as inner strength, right? Because typically Judgment is seen as a card of renewal, awakening, decisiveness, snap judgments, like, you know, doing what I can to make better choices. And even like the statement on this card, the little key phrase is like, the daily choices I make now align me with my life's purpose. So this being reversed and saying like my inner strength is that maybe I'm not so focused on, you know, trying to make the best choice. And maybe that is a lack of self-awareness of like, I'm just going to kind of go do this thing, and I'm going to go try this, and I'm going to do this. Unwillingness to learn karmic lessons. I will say I do tend to struggle a little bit with like what I feel are some of my karmic lessons. I think that's the whole thing with karmic lessons, is that it's not always going to be something that feels easy or something that moves the way that we want it to. And I will say I am a forever indecisive person. I will sit here and be like, I don't know, knowing full well that it feels like a no to me, right? It's just more of a, well, the situation isn't perfect, or the circumstances aren't as clear as I want them to be. So what do I do with that energy? So it can be a little bit challenging for me in some ways. And I think that this is interesting, getting it as my inner strength card, is that self-doubt is maybe something that can be seen as an inner strength, even though I've never seen it that way. I've always seen it as like a flaw, that I'm not able to have that like just super duper like faith that like no matter what I try, no matter what I do, everything's just gonna like come together, and I'm not gonna struggle, and it's not gonna be challenging. So it's very interesting, and I think I'm gonna like have to journal a little bit about what this means for me. Because sometimes, again, and I love doing these little sample readings for you guys, because not every card is always going to have this like light and fluffy message that feels extremely positive. Sometimes it's looking at something that other people perceive as a flaw, or that has, you know, been kind of by society standards, we're kind of told like that's not a good quality to have within yourself. You know, you lack self-awareness in some ways or whatever, but maybe in a lot of ways that is the gift that I have. My inner strength is that maybe I'm not so caught up in things that I feel like I should be aware of, if that makes sense. It's more of, this is who I am. I'm in my 40s now. I'm just like, it is what it is. Like, this is how I am. I'm not going to continuously try to mold myself into the expectations of what society has of me as an individual. and that's what it is. All right, card number 8, the final card, is going to be our outside help or our advisor. So here we have the Ace of Pentacles. This is all about prosperity. So a financial new beginning, new financial opportunities, new job, new business, money, investment, savings, prosperity, security, stability, abundance, and manifestation. So the outside help or advisor would be maybe situations that allow me to feel prosperous. And I will say, as a very Taurus-y person with a lot of personal planets in Taurus, a Taurus stellium, if you will say that money is something that has always felt very stabilizing for me. Having the money, having the financial means, having the opportunity to really support myself and kind of give myself what I need is always going to be something that makes me feel very in alignment with where I need to be. It makes me feel, and I'm sure all of us can understand this energy of like, having it makes me feel like I can take a risk and kind of do different things. So I think my outside help or my advisor is the opening of opportunities into, you know, making money, of having that prosperity, that stability. It allows me to kind of focus on abundance and manifestation and the things that really do make sense for me as an individual. So overall, with this clarity spread, I can kind of look at the whole story of what I need to focus on, what things maybe I'm hanging on to that aren't very beneficial for my, you know, journey, and what I need to kind of move on from. So I think that this is a great spread, especially if you've been kind of struggling to kind of figure out like, well, what is it that I want? Like, what is it that I need to be doing? So by doing this first, then you can kind of do something like making a decision, or, you know, kind of moving into like some shadow work or whatever. It can kind of give you a little bit more clarity. So I hope that this is a spread that you enjoy. Let me know what you guys think down below. I really appreciate you spending some time with me and watching this video. As always, please take care, stay safe, and make good choices. All right, bye.